Hi, hello, 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 hello. Happy Friday. Yes, we've made it through another week. Isn't that awesome, ladies? Oh, yes. And gentlemen, because I know you're out there and you're listening. So it has been a very good week. Of course it has, because the Lord, our God, is on his throne. And you know what? He's got everything under control. We know that. We just have to keep reminding ourselves, and that can make an awesome week. No matter what type of weather you're having, no matter what type of week, God's got it under control. Just saying that to yourself can, just relieve that stress and concern that you may have about something that's going on in your life. Trust in God with all your heart, mind, and soul, and he can give you that joy. Woo! I tell you, just saying that gets me all excited. And it's an amazing, amazing week. It's been fun. I've been taking a lot of pictures of the backyard because the flowers are blooming, and not so much of one that I can cut and put in here to have our little flower show, but it's been beautiful. Just looking at all the plants, and like I said, the flowers, and the hummingbirds are out back. Some bees, those I don't, I know they're needed and they're good for the environment, but they like to sting me. So I like to keep them away from my yard. Matter of fact, I saw some really huge ones and I thought they were wood bees, and like wood and bees, the ones that burrow into the wood on our awning. And I was corrected. Pastor says they're actually bumblebees, but they do burrow in wood. So different parts of the country, you call them different things. But I got to be honest with you guys. I thought bumblebees were one thing and wood bees were another. So I was kind of embarrassed of that one. But it has been an amazing week, and I want to know that one word. I want you guys ready, because I'm going to ask you to do it. I want you first to take a deep breath in. Exhale. One more. And what type of week have you had? Are you ready? On the count of 3, no matter where you're at, I want you to yell it at the top of your lungs. Now, I won't, because the mic is really sensitive and it'll blow your ears out. Okay, are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Awesome! That's right. It's been an awesome week. Come on, Darlene. A little bit harder there. Come on, Anna, Mrs. L, and Peggy, and Catherine, and I think Shannon's out there. I know I saw her. And oh my gosh, Caroline. I know she's out there. I knew we're in college. Oh my goodness, I'm trying to think of all the other people that have messaged me to let me know that they're watching. I know Frank's out there. I know a couple other gentlemen. And now I just feel, and I'm going to show my age here, but does anybody remember the television show for kids called, it just missed my mind now. Hobo Kelly? I think that's who it was. She was female and she had a mirror, and she popped out the mirror part, and she'd say, hello, Shannon. Hello, Peggy. Hello, Darlene. Hi, Anna. Hi, Mrs. L. Hi, Shannon. Oh, I think I already said Shannon. Hi, Ann. Hi, Frank. Hi, Joe. What? Do you guys remember that one? Or am I just really the oldest one here? But that's what I just felt like. Romper Room. Thank you, Mickey. Hi, Mickey. That's right. It's Romper Room. But her name was Hobo Kelly, right? If it's not, correct me in chat and I'll check it later. But I loved her. I loved her better than all the others. Mr. Green Jeans was on Mr. Kangaroo. I remember that one. But I didn't like him as much as I did Romper Room and Hobo Kelly. But anyhow, that's all not what we're going to talk about today. What we're going to talk about today, the one word title is, are you guys ready? Drum roll. Lydia. That is a woman in the Bible. I didn't know there was a Lydia in the Bible. And there's a reason, because she just gets a little short little synopsis out there. But she is a good example for us, and she for many multitude of things. But, her main thing for today's lesson is hospitality. Yeah, Hospitality. You'll see Lydia. It's she's kind of cool. I kind of like her. I think she's going to be my second favorite woman in the Bible. But let's learn about Lydia. And we're first going to go over what is hospitality. So hospitality, everybody goes, oh, I know what hospitality is, but do you really know? And it's being friendly to people. It's being generous. It's entertaining guests. It's visitors or strangers. I mean, hospitality is a great multitude. It just doesn't mean having people over. It means other things too. And we can do these no matter what type of home we have, no matter how big or small it is, no matter if it's, hoity-toity, that means fancy, or a simple home. And we can do this for the glory of God. But first, let's look at what is not hospitality. Now, I want you guys to put your guesses into chat, and I'm going to go over what is not hospitality. It's not what they call, like coldness or frostiness, someone that's kind of standoffish, doesn't want nothing to do with you. I know you guys know what that is, right? Right? I'm pretty sure you do. So unfriendliness, being unfriendly to somebody, ungracious, like I said, a coldness, abruptness with someone. These are all not hospitality. So if we take those words and we switch them over to what hospitality is, it makes more sense for us. So hospitality is a warm welcome. I don't care where you are, if you're at your house or you're at church or at your work, but if someone is giving you a warm welcoming or kind of just, what they would call cold or professional welcoming. And when you get the unhospitality one, you know it, and you're not welcome. But if you get someone with a warm welcoming, towards you, a genuine one, you know it, and you feel better, don't you? When you're out there visiting or being a stranger in a different church, maybe you're out vacationing and you're going to church, you know what it is. And it's a great feeling. You can do these simple things no matter where you are, and they're free to you. So a warm welcome, being friendly, gracious, helping others, being genuine. Oh, that is so important. We have to learn to be genuine with people because, the majority of them, I really think they can tell. I know I can. Can't you? When someone's being genuinely nice to you or if they're just faking it. You want them to be sincere. You don't want someone that's, is not sincere, is just like putting up a face, wearing a mask about where they're at. We all know these people. We all know what they're like, and people can tell, so we want to be genuine and sincere with our hospitality. So in short, hospitality is taking care of people, making them feel comfortable when they're with you and appreciate them and making them feel good about being away from their home and being with you. So it's being, like I said, it's making them feel comfortable. It's appreciating them when they're there, paying attention to a person, listening to what they're saying. This is all forms of hospitality, and it's free that we can do it. Some of us, I know you're out there and you feel like maybe uncomfortable about inviting someone over to your house. Maybe you don't feel like your stuff is good enough or whatever. But you know what? People, when they're coming to your home and us going to other people's home, we should not be going there to see what they have materially or worldly. We should be going there to visit you, to see you. Okay. So don't worry so much. And I know we all do it, which is, kind of stressful. So we really shouldn't do it because stress isn't good for the body. But, I'm just this is not part of it, but I'm going to go ahead and give it to you as an example. When my kids were growing up, and they will be my witness, they will stand up and say, yes, mom did this. They would say when someone was coming, I'd have them start pulling out the furniture and putting it into the middle of the room. I'm not kidding you, ladies. And I would get on my hands and knees with a wet washcloth and wipe down the baseboards behind the furniture. Yeah, that's crazy. And sometimes it still kind of bugs me. I still want to pull out the furniture and do the baseboards because, when they start getting really thick with gunk, you really should. But who's going behind my furniture when they're visiting my house? Okay, my mom would. So probably if your mom's visiting, go ahead, pull out the furniture, clean that. Don't worry about it. But if you're having guests over, don't worry about your baseboards. Life is too short. Learn from my wasted time. Learn from the errors of somebody that was a little overboard, and don't do it. And believe me, I don't go to people's houses and look at their baseboards. I don't know how or why I thought people came to my house and looked at my baseboards. I don't know. And now at my stage in life, if you want to come over and look at my baseboards, come on over. I'll give you a wet washcloth. You can clean them for me. How's that? That sounds awesome. All right. So we don't need to worry so much about that. But I want to go. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry. I'm cracking myself up. Acts 16, 13 through 15. And we're going to go ahead and read that. Acts 16, 13 through 15. And on the Sabbath, we went out of the city by a riverside where prayer was wont to be made. And I want to make a little thing here. Want, I even asked and looked this up. Want means to well known. That's what it means, well known. So prayer was well known or want to be made. People knew that this is where people went to have prayer with each other, to gather together to have a prayer meeting. Okay, so where prayers want to be made, and we sat down and spake unto a certain woman restored hither, which means restored hither means they were going towards the place. Okay, and a certain woman named Lydia, a seller of purple of the city of Thyatira, I believe that's how it's pronounced, Thyatira, which worshipped God, heard us, whose heart the Lord opened, that she attended unto the things which were spoken of Paul. And when she was baptized and her household, she besought us, saying, if ye have judged me to be faithful unto the Lord, come unto my house and abide there, and she constrained us. So that's Lydia. So Lydia went to prayer groups. It was a women's prayer group. That's where Paul met Lydia. And she was a well-known seller, or as Proverbs 31 would say, a merchant. Okay. So she was a merchant of purple cloth and a dyed purple. She belonged to like a dyed purple firm or business, and think about it. I know back in those days, women weren't really considered much but property, but Pastor was telling me where she lived at that time, women were actually equal to the men. So she was part of this business, and she was well known for it. She was wealthy on it also. And this firm was within her city, and the city was famous for this particular purple dye. So, it's important that we realize that she was wealthy and that she was well known for this purple dye that we used on clothing mainly. So a little tidbit about this purple dye, because I found it really, really interesting, and how it was made. So many years ago, and they had so much knowledge that today is even carried on. Yeah, I'd have to look that up if they actually, well, when you hear how it's made, you'll understand I wonder about it. But anyhow, so what they would do is by boiling them in lead vats, this purple dye was extracted from snails. Can you believe it? From snails. And it was the mucus of several different types. And it was murex snails, or more commonly known as rock snails. There you go. I find snails in my garden, and oh, please do not write me or tell me that I should let them live. I take them and toss them. So if they survive the flight, they can survive. But anyhow, so these snails, to make this particular purple, which is a Tyranian purple. Wow, it's Tyrian purple. It's from ancient Rome. It was okay. So anyway, so the purple was the color of royalty in those days. If you think about it, it is even today. Purple is very purple. Actually, the purple violet, African violet, is my birth month flower, and the amethyst, which is purple. Woohoo! I knew I was a princess. Okay, so so the purple was royalty, and that's mainly who wore it back then, because the purchasing of this material of this particular color was very expensive. So to make this type of purple, this snail was collected by the thousands. I mean, I'm assuming they like reproduced like rabbits, because there were thousands of them. And then collected them. And then they were boiled, okay, for days in these giant lead vats. And it produced a horrible, terrible smell. Man, I pity those people that were working on that stuff. Now, remember, Lydia was the seller, so hopefully she didn't have to smell that stuff. But if they're saying it's terrible, can you imagine? Whoa. Oh, it was a terrible smell when they boiled these snails to get this color out. And the dye was literally worth more than its weight in gold. Wow. So you know that people that purchased this particular material had to have a lot of money, and Lydia made a lot of money. So she was well off. Okay, because it was it. And another interesting thing I found out about this particular purple when they dyed it inside the clothes was, you know how usually if you're wearing it outside in the sun, and where they lived, it was very sunny because of the desert. But colors fade. You know, it really is hard, because if you have patio furniture outside, you know, you leave it outside, it gets sun, it fades and it looks, you know, not as nice. Well, this particular purple doesn't fade in the sun. What happens to this particular purple, and I want to get it right, instead becomes brighter with the weathering and sunlight. Can you imagine? I mean, wow. I'm sorry, but this really was just so amazing to me, that this color that they get out of snail's mucus, you know, gets brighter in the sun. And there's different varieties. And the most valuable one, they said, was the darker, dark purple, which made it look like it was a black. Okay. So that's just a side bit. So I want to go to Lydia and what Lydia was doing. So Lydia was praying when she met Paul with this prayer group, which was well known. Okay, that was verse 13. She was seeking God. She wanted to know God. So if she's seeking God and wanted to know him, she wasn't saved yet. Okay. She was worshiping God at the time that Paul met her. She was the first person, get this, the first person to get saved at that city with Paul and his followers. Because we can see that when it says in the next verse, we're going to, or actually, you know, yeah, that verse in Philippi, because whose heart the Lord opened. We see that in verse 14. And so what that means, that particular, when they say whose heart the Lord opened in verse 14, yeah, 14, sorry. Verse 14 is she accepted Christ as her personal savior. So Paul was telling the gospel. He was telling all these people that in the prayer group that had met there all the time, that was well known, that the Lord God Almighty sent down his only begotten son to die on the cross for their sins, you know, and rose from the dead 3 days later and is in heaven with God right now. And all they had to do was believe in Jesus Christ, believe that he died on the cross, believe that he rose again, believe that he was our savior, and they would get saved and be able to go to heaven when they died. And she did this. She was the very first person to step forward. I mean, that's boldness, you know, in a group of people, you know. And so I was amazed. Lydia is very brave. And what also impressed me was that not only Lydia was wealthy, she had hospitality, but she was bold about doing things that she knew that God wanted her to do. She got baptized. The very next verse says she gets baptized. So boom, she gets saved. Boom, she goes and gets baptized. She's following the Lord. Whatever the Lord wants, Lydia is willing to do. Then after that, in verse 15 also, her whole household gets baptized, which means they had to have gotten saved. Because you don't get baptized and then saved, you get saved. And then baptism is just showing the death, burial, and resurrection of your old life into your new life following Jesus Christ. And her household did that. And back then, she's big. She's got a lot of wealth. So that means she's got a big house. She's got a lot of servants. You know, there's a lot of people. So they all said, okay, Lydia, we'll do it because we believe Christ also. And they get baptized. All because Lydia stood up and did this first. And they heard, of course, Paul and his preaching. Then Lydia, after she gets saved, baptized, and this is like happening. Oh, I'd snap, but my hand still kind of hurts. Just like that, she gets saved. Just like that, she gets baptized. Boom, she gets her household saved. Boom, she gets her household baptized. And then the very next verse, verse 16, she goes to Paul and his followers, and she's bold enough to insist that they come and stay with her. Now, we don't know how many followers Paul had, but they didn't travel with just one guy normally. Paul had a lot of people that followed him, and every time he would preach, a couple of people would go with him. So, from the crowd that he preached, that would add to those followers. But she invited them all over there. So she had to have been extremely wealthy to be able to feed them. And that's in verse 15. Now, let's remember in Acts 16:15, we're going to read that again. And when she was baptized and her household, she besought us, saying, if ye have judged me to be faithful to the Lord, come unto my house and abide there. And she constrained us. Remember that word, constrained, because I love definitions. Woohoo! Definitions time. Here we go. So constrained, because I wanted to know exactly what Lydia did to Paul and his followers. And it says appearing forced or overly controlled, to force by impose or limitations, to restrict the motion, grasp tightly. It's kind of like teenagers, how they feel. They feel constrained by rules and parents. So there you go. So think of Lydia being a mom saying, no, you're coming. Come on. You got no place to stay. You're coming to my house. Pretty much she was a very bold lady. And she knew that this is what the Lord wanted, and she was going to get it done. And we can see that in her attitude by getting saved, baptized, and then going to prayer meetings, prior to that, and seeking the Lord and listening to Paul. Right away, she gets saved. What a woman to be that bold and that secure and that confidence that she wants to do what the Lord wants her to do. This is what we need to do. So then in Acts 16:40, let's go there real quick. Come on with me. Open up your Bibles. Look at it. It says, and they went out of the prison and went into the house of Lydia. So they followed. They said, okay, Lydia, okay, we're going to go. And they went with her. And they had seen the brethren, and they comforted them and departed. So they stayed at Lydia's house until they were ready to go, and then they left. So they stayed. We don't know how long they stayed, but they would stay for a while. We know that by seeing other biblical stories and reading the Bible. We know that most of the time they stayed a while. So not only does Lydia have a practical job outside the home, because she is the seller of that very, very, very expensive purple coloring cloth, but she has wealth, she has boldness, and she has hospitality. And God shows this in his word to us. So to me, having the boldness, having a job outside the home, having a hospitality, these are good things. They're good things because God has provided for Lydia to work and to be able to have wealth so that she could have a very large house. She had to have a large house because she had Paul and all the followers and her household and her family to take, to house inside her house. It's not like she can have a 1-bedroom home and jam all those people in there, So we know that God supplied her with this. But what is amazing that Lydia did is that with all these things that she had, she used them to glorify God. She didn't go by the worldly way, but she wanted to glorify God, and she used them just as we need to grasp a hold of that really good advice there and just follow through with what God gives us for his glory. He gave her a job, which provided the means or the wealth, right? That she could do this for the God Almighty. So she had wealth, and the wealth enables her to house Paul and feed him and his followers for however long they stayed. That's 3 meals a day, plus probably, snacks and stuff. So the boldness, she did not hesitate to get saved, get baptized, and invite Paul and everybody to her house. She knew that this is something she had to do for the Lord. So, and hospitality. And how does Lydia show us that hospitality? Because she insisted that Paul and his followers come. She constrained them. She made sure that they were going to go and do it. And Paul went. So Paul knew that this is where the Lord wanted him to go. And he went without question. And they go, she invites, they go. That's awesome. That's the way we should be. We shouldn't hesitate on something that the Lord tells us to do. We should just do it and not worry and not be concerned, because God Almighty has everything under control and for our best interests. So even though Lydia is only mentioned once in the Bible in Acts 16, I personally think, that she had a huge impact on Paul's ministry. And she will receive a great reward for that. If you help out someone that's in God's ministry, no matter how minuscule of the thing that you think it is, if God tells you to do it and you follow through with it, you will get a great reward. And how do we know this? Because the Bible tells us, and the Bible doesn't lie. Let's go real quick to Matthew 10:41. Let's look and see, because this is what God is telling us if we help out other people in the ministry. Come on. Matthew 10:41. He that receiveth a prophet in the name of a prophet shall receive a prophet's reward. And he that receiveth a righteous man in the name of a righteous man shall receive a righteous man's reward. So that prophet, that preacher, that missionary, that Sunday school teacher, that pastor of yours, the pastor's wife, the church members, and it says the righteous men. So other church members, other Christians, you're going to receive the rewards that they would receive. So Lydia, doing her little bit that she thought it was about housing them and feeding them, she's going to get the same reward as Paul would, because she had an impact on their ministry. And you don't know how much of an impact you have on someone's ministry. Prayers alone. I know I keep telling you guys this, but it is so true. Prayers can be hospitality. You're praying for them, letting a missionary or letting a pastor know, or letting the Sunday school teacher know, or letting your choir know, or letting your church member know that you're praying for them. That is a part of God's ministry, and it blesses their heart when they know that they have people out there that are dedicated to praying for them. It relieves stress. Just think about it when you're going through a really tough time, and a lot of times we don't tell other people when we're going through hard times, but if someone comes up and said, "Hey, I'm praying for you," oh, how great that feels, doesn't it? Doesn't it feel good that somebody is going to the Lord on your behalf? That's part of hospitality. And you'll receive whoever you're praying for's reward. And I think that's an awesome thing that God does. So now I know you're saying, okay, Ann, okay. I know I should do those things, but I don't have Lydia's wealth. Well, you know what? Many of us don't. We don't. We live, some of us live in a country that we can have lots of things, and some of us that are listening don't. But you know what? We can still do things for others that you can redeem and to get and to help them to go on and do more for God within their ministry through little hospitality things that you can do for them. The small ways. We've discussed this before about encouraging people. That's part of hospitality, being friendly. Prayers. We covered prayers. Everybody loves it when someone prays for them. One way or another, they love it. Gift cards. I'm reading off things, but if you know of anything, that you can do, that it's a small thing that you can help someone in the ministry, put it in the chat so others can see it. Because what you think is common and knowledge you'd know, a lot of people don't. So you might be a helper to somebody watching. But there's cards, gift cards. There's take them out for a treat if you have that ability. A dinner, a lunch, even just tea or coffee. Even just saying, "Hey, can we meet somewhere?" And let's just talk. Just having someone to talk. Many, many, many women in the ministry do not have someone that they can confide in and just chat with normally, because they're concerned about, gossipers. So if you're good at keeping confidence, just be an ear, just talk to them. It doesn't matter. We want someone to really listen. And part of hospitality is listening intently on that person and what they're saying. Simple, simple. Notes, text messages, tell them you're thinking of praying. When we mentioned that, homemade goods, if you make homemade goods. I know ladies out there that bake bread, homemade bread. Oh my goodness, that is wow. Homemade bread is really good, and I have gluten allergies. So if anybody out there can make really good gluten-free bread, bring it on. Yeah. So there's little things that you can do. Look, cookies. You can make cookies inexpensive and hand them out. It's just little things that that the other person can have, and they're thought of. You're making them feel welcome. And that's hospitality, which is what Lydia had. She probably served Paul a bunch of chocolate chip cookies. I just know it. Okay, well, Pastor's is oatmeal and raisin cookies, but still, Paul liked chocolate chip, I'm sure. So show up at church every time the doors are open. You have no idea what an encouragement is to your pastor, that when he gets up there to preach and he looks out and you're in your spot. At our church, everybody sits normally in the same spot, and they'll come in after we, if there's nobody there and they're the first ones there, they'll say, well, where can I sit? I always tell them, sit anywhere. It doesn't matter where you sit. It really doesn't. But we all know we probably gravitate to our own spot. Well, let me tell you, your pastor, when he looks out from that pulpit and you're not in your spot, he knows. He knows. He's concerned. And I can guarantee you, he's probably saying a short prayer to the Lord. I hope they're okay. If you can't make it to church, let your pastor know why. If you've fallen and can't get up, if you've, come down with the flu, let them know, because they're concerned. They are the shepherds of us, and they concern and pray when you're not in your spot. But it is such an encouragement when he looks out and everyone's in their spot. He gets excited. You can see it, especially with my husband. I can see when everybody's there and the church is full, he gets really a little bit more excited about it, because he's encouraged that all of God's children, all of God's sheep are in their spot. Okay, so show up at church events. Every event that your church has, if you can make it and it's for you, don't show up at some teen event or kids event if you're, an adult and you're not supervising it, but or not there to help. But show up at every event that you can. This encourages other Christians to participate, to have fellowship, and to go to church more. And that's a ministry, but it's also hospitality. And hospitality is a ministry of the Lord, because Lydia shows it by showing it to Paul, which we should show to all Christians. Sing. And not just at your home, but at church. It makes a difference how you participate in church, how the church events go, how they, how the song, what do they call them? Directors, song leader, whatever you call it. It encourages them if you sing. It encourages your own soul. It encourages other people's soul. Now, I'm one. I will belt out whenever I can. And yes, I know some songs sound better when they're quiet, but I almost feel like that I'm being held back when I can't just belt it out. But belt it out. I don't care if you can sing or if you have a voice that everybody wants to plug their ears. Belt it out, because God made you. He made your voice. He made you can sing. And to him, it is pleasant as the best chocolate you ever tasted in your mouth. Ooh, or Flamin' Leon when it melts in your mouth. That's good too. But anyhow, pray and sing in church, because it matters and it encourages other people. It makes the visitors feel welcome. And all those reasons, again, are what? Hospitality ministry. That's right. And we can do it. So pray. Like I said, pray in church, pray all the time, pray everything. It's important. I know I say it over and over again, because it is a very vital thing within a Christian life. Smile. Smile and have it be sincere. I I don't care if you have funky teeth, if you have gold teeth, if you have no teeth. It doesn't matter to me. You know what? You smile, that's welcoming people in. It encourages other people. It shows the joy of the Lord in your soul that you can smile through anything, and it invites people to get closer to you, as we have discussed in other lessons. But a smile can lift someone's spirits you don't even know that's down. You ever been in a store or even in church, or maybe you've gone to a friend and say, hey, how are you doing? And you're smiling and they see you, they go, hi. Or like I said, in a grocery store, they walk by and you just kind of smile. You're either going to get someone smile back and nod their head, or they're going to look weird at you. But it encourages their soul. There was time, I'm trying to remember exactly where, it was probably in Walmart or somewhere, but it was years ago. And I'm walking down this aisle and the kids are all around me. So we know it was years ago because now they're all adults and have their own kids. But the kids are around me and we're talking and everything. And I see this elderly lady down the aisle. Now I say elderly, but she was probably about my age now. But anyhow, the kids are all around me. I see her and she just looks so sad. I got to tell you, my heart just dropped when I saw her. I started to tear up. She looked so sad, and just not like miserable sad, but like something awful had happened to her. And the kids are running around and everything. And, and I just kind of watched her and I was trying to see if she was, approachable or not, or if the kids were irritating her. My kids were pretty good in the grocery store. I got to say, they stayed around the cart unless I asked them to go get something. So I thought of which kid I was going to send over, because she was standing next to something that I needed, and which kid would be the most, is easier at talking to people. So I sent over one of the boys to go get something, and he's standing there because she is standing right in front of the item. And he just goes, excuse me, ma'am. And he smiles and looks up at her, and she looks down and she still looks sad, but he takes the can and he looks at her and he said, I love your hair. And then he ran back towards me. And she's watching this child go back up towards me. And she looks at me and I'm smiling and I waved at her and she smiled. And so we went to go by her and she just grabbed my arm and said, thank you. And I said, oh, okay, you're welcome. She says, you will never know how much you've brightened my day. We had a little chat. Come to find out, she had lost her husband. I think it was like a month or two earlier, and the kids had left and she was all by herself. And she missed people. She missed the interaction. And she had told me not one person in the store said hi. Not one person acknowledged her existence. She felt, I'm going to start crying. She felt forgotten. How awful is that? How awful is it to feel forgotten? So smile. And yes, I gave her a tract. I invited her to church, but the whole thing was a smile can uplift someone's day. So try that on someone in a grocery store. It will work. Ask if there's anything you could do for your pastor or your Sunday school teacher or your choir director. Help out in church ministries. Clean the church. Don't just leave trash all over. Pick it up. Go soul winning. Even if all you can do is hand out a tract, that is soul winning. And then pray some more. All these are hospitality things that you can do. Now let's go back to Matthew 10:41. I want to go back there because I want you to remember this. He that receiveth a prophet in the name of a prophet shall receive a prophet's reward. And he that receiveth a righteous man in the name of a righteous man shall receive a righteous man's reward. The next verse is very important. Matthew 10:42. And whosoever, remember that? Oh, I love that name. Whosoever. There's a song, isn't there? Whosoever meaneth me. Yeah, there's a song with that. If you know which song that is, put it down in chat. I can't remember the title. Excuse me. Crying. Okay. So whosoever shall give to a drink unto one of these little ones a cup of cold water, only in the name of a disciple, verily I say unto you, he shall in no wise lose his reward. The smallest thing that you give, a cup of water. God will reward you for it. It's part of hospitality ministries. No matter what your financial status is on this earthly life, let's show godly hospitality to all. It's a ministry that's free that we can do. All right, ladies. All right, gentlemen. I'll see you guys later. I love you. Be hospitable as Lydia was. Give, smile. Anything you can do can encourage another person. Hospitality ministry. Let's do it of godly hospitality. Bye. Bye. See you. Bye. Bye. Love you guys. Bye.